Hi, I'm Jimmy, and I drive a 1985 Toyota Corolla GTS hatchback. I think growing up in the 80s, like these were the cars that were kind of running around at the time. I've loved cars ever since I can even remember, and so seeing this car and seeing it in its current state kind of reminds me of like what it was like growing up. And that's one of the reasons I really love like the 80s and 90s cars, because that's what I remember like when I first got my license, and that's why these cars are the ones I really enjoy. I got this car in, I think, 2003, 2004. I had just bought an S14 off a friend, but I had another friend who was moving to California and he needed to get rid of his car. So even back then, the car was still pretty rare to find in that condition, and it's kind of an opportunity. So I sold the S14 and I bought this car. When I first bought it, it had a little bit of rear end damage. It was originally silver, and when I went to get it fixed, it's when I decided to have it painted at the same time. I think the Panda scheme is like the most iconic paint scheme for this car. Even back in the days, just reading options magazines and watching the videos, this is the color that you saw the car in. And it definitely blew up after Initial D came out. So whenever I look at this car, I feel like that's like the color scheme to have painted. I think one of the reasons why people love Initial D because it's the story of the underdog. Takumi was so underdog, he didn't know he was the underdog, but then driving, what was considered, just kind of like a sporty car compared to like the FDs, the GTRs, was something that people didn't expect. Even though, maybe he couldn't do a lot of those things in real life, we know that Tsuchiya, he tracked his 86, and that was kind of the inspiration for the show. So I think the first time I saw drifting was when Kaiichi was drifting his 86, and I was like, oh my god, that's so awesome. And back then these cars were so cheap, you could take them drifting, put it into a wall and it'd be okay. But now I guess they're harder and harder to find, prices are going up and up, and especially in the States it's getting a lot more expensive. But it's just one of those classic cars that they kind of started the scene. I think I just built this with just trying to keep it very clean, more JDM style. Got rid of the US spec bumpers. Just wanted to have some nice set of wheels on it. These are the Volk T37Vs, so super popular, but also super light, very strong. Just kind of I wanted to keep with that kind of style. But it's going to be one of those things where it's a work in progress for quite a while. I think ever since I could remember, when I was growing up, I would always gravitate towards like the muscle cars and like the exotic cars. I think it wasn't until I met my best friend in college, and he had a 91 Acura Integra LS Special, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was stick, he had some 16-inch Borbette Type Cs, and I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And it was then that we started getting into import cars. And I remember my first real car was a 96 Acura Integra GSR. And we went to English Town at one of their import nights, and there was like 6 cars at the drag strip. And it was my first time drag racing, and I ended up winning that night because my friend with the nitrous M3 broke out of his bracket. So that was my first trophy. I come home, I'm so excited, show my parents, and then they found out I went drag racing, and they kind of whooped my butt after that. We just had a lot of good memories back in those days, in the earlier days. I remember working out on the cars in front of my friend's garage outside in the middle of winter. We made do with what we had, but that was the fun parts back then. You'd be working on your car till 5 in the morning, sleep 2 hours, and then go down to the track the next day. And those are some good times. It's a little bit different now. Everyone's married, they got kids, but the love of cars just doesn't go away. I guess what makes this car so special is just it reminds me of simpler times, happier times. I also enjoy just the memories it brings even now, driving with my friends, going to meets, meeting new people. I think all of that just adds to the memories of the car, and that's what I really enjoy about it. It's just the memories that it made. You don't have to have a lot of horsepower to enjoy driving it. With a lower horsepower car, you could just drive through, the mountains and just, enjoy it without having to push yourself too hard. I'll get beat by a Honda Odyssey, no problem, but it's just enjoyable to drive a slow car fast. A nice handling car with just the right horsepower is just going to be just as enjoyable. a lot of cars nowadays, you kind of feel very disconnected. With this car, you hear everything. I love the way the car looks. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it drives. Between the steering, the throttle, the shifter, everything just kind of like clicks together, and everything just kind of works. It just kind of maintains like the thrill of driving. I think that's really what I really love about this car.